The next speaker is Rebecca Briscoe, is a partnership coordinator for the U.S. Census Bureau for the Denver region. She is the person to know.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I want to say thank you, Mayor Adler, for endorsing Census 2020. It starts from the top, and I want to say thank you. I want to also thank Ryan Robinson for always being such a great person to work with, Travis County, Bruce Elfin. I mean, it's been an absolutely a joy to work with them because I have been using you all as the model. I don't know if you know that, because y'all come together and y'all make it happen. And unlike other cities I have visited, they don't see the importance of collaboration, but that is okay. So I am going to speak on what you need to know and what we can do in Austin, Travis County to make a complete and accurate count for 2020. And before I get started, I always like to give a personal reflection. Why am I so passionate about Census 2020? Well, before I took this position, I was a classroom teacher at an underserved school, Southwest Houston. And if anybody understands the demographic of Southwest Houston, honey, you gotta be ready, okay? And so, Title I school, huge immigrant population, refugee population. My classroom looked like the United Nations, and it was absolutely beautiful. And one of the issues that my students would tell me is, Miss Briscoe, I missed my breakfast time. And you know, for a child that comes to school to eat first before learning, breakfast is very important to them. And it would come to the point where the cafeteria lady would tell them, well, you have a balance on your lunch, so I'm going to sit you in the corner and I'm going to let you eat crackers and an apple juice. And for a second grader, that messes with them mentally and physically, if you know what I mean. So me as the outreach investigator that I am, I wanted to do something, and not just for my classroom. I wanted to do something for the whole school. So in research, I was able to find a gentleman who was a lunch angel. And what he did, he went around Houston and he wiped out the whole balance for all of the students at school, because I knew that when my students came to school, they came to eat first. And a lot of them depended on breakfast, lunch, and a snack. And that was going to make sure that they were going to be prepared to learn. So by engaging him, he came to the school and he wiped out the whole balance from pre-K to 5th grade. And that made my students want to be something. It taught them the importance that sometimes if you speak up, you can't get services. Now, when we look at Census 2020, one of the programs that the census will support in Texas from the funding is the school lunch program. So why am I passionate about Census 2020? My babies have to eat lunch. They have to eat breakfast and get a snack. So that is why I'm serious about this mission. Okay, so we're going to get started on the presentation. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. No problem. Okay, wonderful. So as you can see our agenda, of course, we've done a lot of that already, and so we're going to move on to the next slide. Why do we do a census? It's mandated by the Constitution. It's the foundation of our democracy, and it started in 1790, and it's been done every 10 years as a decennial. The census is confidential, and that's another thing I want to reinforce for 2020. Every census employee, I have taken a lifetime oath to uphold the Constitution and uphold confidentiality. I know that may be a concern. And some of the repercussions, if you do not follow that, is a fine of $250,000 and up to 5 years in federal prison. So this information is confidential. When you connect with a census field worker, they are taking information just based on the housing unit. And we want to reinforce that is just for statistical information only. And for 2020, they will be using a handheld, so as soon as that information that they collect, it is taken away out of their computer system. So they cannot retrieve that information. It's gone. Next slide. 2020 census versus 2010, just as Mayor Adler mentioned, we will be using technology more than ever. We know that if people can complete their form online and utilize the internet, they'll be more truthful. They'll be more willing to share open information of what's going on in their household. For example, they may live in an apartment where the apartment lease says only 4 people are supposed to stay there. Well, they may have 6 or 7 people there. We know that if they can complete that form online, they will be more honest to put that information online than instead of having an enumerator come knock on the door. So we're utilizing technology for that aspect to be efficient as well, and also utilize it as a tool to save taxpayers money. Apportionment. As Mayor Adler mentioned, the power. Power as far as apportionment. In 2010, the state of Texas was able to acquire 4 congressional seats, and estimates have shown from the election data services, not from the Census Bureau, that in 2020, there's a possibility for the state of Texas to gain 3 to 4 additional congressional seats, so it counts. The next slide is for the distribution of resources. The funds from the accurate count supports a lot of federal initiatives that are on the ground, a lot of social service initiatives that a lot of our underserved and hard to count communities depend on. And so I have this sheet. Many of you probably picked it up. It's the George Washington University sheet. And it pretty much tells you that as a result of the 2010 census, that over $43 billion is allocated yearly to the state of Texas. And also that's about a little bit over $1,500 per person from those numbers. And if you look at it, a lot of the programs deal with children. They deal with Medicaid, they deal with Medicare Part B, they deal with CHIP, they deal with the school lunch program, Title I, infrastructure, and so forth. So it's very, very important. And this is also important. We have a lot of key collection dates. A lot of things are going on now. I'm sure you probably saw my staff passing out information about recruiting. We are recruiting, and we want people to apply that reflect the community that needs the most TLC. And we have Robert Taylor. He is our new partnership specialist on the ground. He will be handling our veterans and homeless. We have Lydia Campos. She will be handling the Hispanic community. And their work ethic is just as impressive as their resume. So I want you all to know that we finally have someone that is located in Austin that can be your point of contact and your resource for the Census Bureau as well. So as we look at that information, we have a regional office that has already opened. It is in Dallas, so it'll be called the Dallas RCC. We also have early area census offices that will open in January. And those offices will be located in San Antonio and also in Houston. Now, the early census offices that you normally hear of, they will be open in Austin in summer 2019. And we will need to fully staff that office. So we're going to need clerks, IT managers, and so forth. And we will be disseminating that information as well. That'll be on USA Jobs. And I know our partners like you will be able to share that information. Also, in the early 2020, that's when our group quarters will start going around. And we wanted to do that early, specifically like universities like the University of Texas in 2010. We were able to miss a lot of people because a lot of the college students went home. So we're going to start, we're going to bump that up a little bit so that we can capture that, because it's where you lay your head on April 1st, 2020. So that's another thing we have to educate seriously. Self-response, when does that start? March 23rd. Yes, we know in green Census Day is April the 1st, but we want people to go out and complete their census form on March the 23rd. As soon as you get that card, you'll get a PIN number, or you can actually go online and complete the form. And then on April the 1st, you can complete it, but we're hoping that we can optimize self-response before the 1st. Now, as we look at May, you'll probably get another letter in the mail if you have not completed your census form. And then that next time, you'll most likely have a door knocker. So you're going to have several mailings that go out. And we know that the CCC, the Austin-Travis County CCC, is definitely going to keep everyone in the loop about when to fill out their census form and where to go. Okay, so how are we going to do that? How are we going to engage our trusted voices? We're going to do that with our marketing and outreach campaign called Complete Count Committees. And what that is done for, we enlist trusted voices, we meet with local government, and they actually devise how they're going to strategically relate and engage their hard-to-count communities. And the goal of that is just to make sure we motivate people about the importance of responding. And for 2020, we want to motivate them to self-respond and to utilize the technology that we have for online. Also, if you don't feel comfortable with online, there's an option of using the telephone. For 2020, you can utilize the telephone and you can have a customer service agent within 12 different languages help you complete that form. Unlike in 2010, it was you just called to get questions answered. But for 2020, they can actually take down your information and complete it over the phone. And of course, we're still going to continue our traditional snail mail method if you want to turn it in via the U.S. Postal Service. So what does a complete count committee look like? So we'll have the mayor as the chair, and he may designate a chair who's going to oversee this campaign because it is a serious campaign. And a lot of data and research is done to see what communities need to be touched, which communities need to be engaged. A lot of times we have people that are subject matter experts in specific fields of outreach, and they all come together in committees and subcommittees to devise that, to execute the outreach initiative. Okay, and here's an example of what our subcommittees look like. So we have subject matters, and this is just a template. This is a headquarters template. Each city knows their city, each county knows their county. So they've created just how they want to, but here's just a headquarters template. For example, they may have someone as a media subcommittee. They may have someone in the homeless, veterans, faith-based, and so forth. Recruiting, since that's very serious right now, we like to recruit heavily. Different businesses and community organizations. So here's just a basic example of who would be at the helm as the chair and who would be in those committees. Next slide. Okay. Another thing that I'm excited about for 2020 is in 2010, just from what I've heard, people were everywhere just doing outreach. Where now for 2020, the census is going to be data-driven. So we have a mapping tool called ROAM, where it's called the Response Outreach Area Mapper. And public, you can go online and play with it, where that is going to be our driving force of where we need to touch, where outreach needs to begin. And as you see on the map, it shows the low response score. The darker the shade of the map, it tells us that that low response score is over 25. If it is over 25, that area or census tract will be a little bit reluctant in completing their census form. And so by utilizing that software mapping tool, we're letting our cities and counties and other municipalities devise what areas they need to put a little bit more time and effort for outreach. And that's called Rome. So we'll be more data-driven than ever. So what are some tools? We have free resources. We have tools that you can actively go on with your smartphone. For those who are in education, we have Statistics in Schools, which is a supplementary resource that can be utilized for free from EC through 12. We have various links where you can keep up with what's going on with Census 2020. We have a toolkit that has been updated a lot more than what it has been in the past. But as we ramp up aggressively for Census 2020, we will have a designated website on our site, a designated link, where you can download information. You can download flyers. You can tailor it to your community and so forth. You'll be able to pull, maybe you want to do some social media posts and just plug them into your social media feeds. We'll have pre-designed social media posts where you can copy and paste that information and just plug it in. Just something as simple as that. It'll be a resource kit for you all to utilize. And yes, we are hiring. We are hiring. Yes, we are. We are looking for people as we speak. We opened up our website last week for hiring recruiting assistants and different field staff. Those recruiting assistants, it's about a 2-year assignment where they're paid in this area $21.50. And what they're going to do, they are going to recruit people to work in the field. They're going to set up space to make sure those individuals can be tested and trained, because that is the process that you go through. And just to have some information, in Hayes County, we're going to need 1 recruiting assistant, Bastrop, 1 person, Wilmington County, 2 people, Travis County, we're going to need 5 people. And as we open that ACO office in Austin, I don't have a location yet, but in summer 2019, it's going to be a well-oiled machine. We're going to have 6 to 12 managers in-house and up to 40 to 60 employees in that office, and along with various supervisors. So it is going to be pretty much the census hub for Austin. Don't have a location, but as soon as I do, I'll let you know. Now, everyone who works in the office has to apply for USA jobs. So they have to go on the federal website, and by them applying that way, they'll be on salary and they'll be able to get benefits as a federal employee. So what's next? Right now we're in the education phase of Census 2020. We are sitting down with various community leaders, elected officials, local governments, and just letting them know what we're doing and how we're going to be prepared for 2020. We're establishing CCCs, and I have this picture here because it's been a long time in the making. Just as you mentioned, Austin counts. The state of Texas will count for 2020. This photo is from the formation meeting when my regional director, Kathy Lacey, came down to address the state of Texas. So for the first time, there will be a statewide CCC in the state of Texas. And so what does that mean? That means that's going to assist with an extra push in those hard to reach communities, in those underserved populations, and it'll have, just a lot of great synergy and cohesiveness now that we have the support from the state. Okay, next slide. The next year, 2019, around this time, you're probably going to be see Census 2020 everywhere like it's the Super Bowl. So you'll see a lot of our awareness, our marketing information. You'll see a lot of boots on the ground and a lot of on-site activations. So how can you help? How can you get involved? You definitely can connect with me. You can connect with the partnership specialists that we have on site. And also just, be a resource to us. We're not asking you all to just, stop everything what you're doing. But first of all, be educated. Be educated on the importance of the complete and accurate count for Census 20. and also get involved. And getting involved could just start from putting information, the right information, in a newsletter or a social media post, or just going to a meeting in support with the city and the county. And so I'm glad that I was invited. I'm hoping that I was able to be a resource, a source to the resource, and I just want to say thank you for allowing me to share about having a complete and accurate count for Census 2020. I'm in. I hope you're in for Census 2020. So thank you.